Hi, it's Lee. I hope you're all doing well today. Today I'm colouring a mandala and I'll be using my Faber-Castell watercolours on Nina cardstock. So I decided to go with the watercolours because it's the end of the month and I'm running out of time, so I needed something quick. So I'll probably add some polychromos over the top of this as well if I have time. Now the good thing about the Faber-Castell watercolours and the polys is that the colours are the same. So if I use the hooker green, for example, there's the same colour in the polys. So it's easy to match if you need to touch it up or if you need to add more colour. And I'll put the colours below in the video description as I'm colouring along. Now the paper is not watercolour paper, so it will probably buckle as I haven't taped it down, but it accepts at least one layer of watercolour well, so I'm not worried about it pilling at all. Now because it's a mandala and all the segments are the same, I'll just colour one bit and then colour the rest offline and come back and do that back and forth so it doesn't take as long and so that you're not bored out of your brain watching. And I'm colouring a mandala for a reason. I want to introduce you to Mandala a month, which is why I needed to get it done this month because January is running out. So each month I'm creating a mandala in a line art version that I'm using today, a very light sort of soft grayscale with just a tiny bit of shading on it, and a simplified version of this liner in a colour by number version. And I'm going to give you the 3 coloured palettes and 3 coloured inspirational images to go with them if you want to use them, or to inspire you with colours, or if you don't use them at all, it doesn't matter. Now the coloured inspirational images I've digitally coloured because I would be here all month at the slow pace that I colour to colour them in, so I digitally coloured those to make it a lot quicker. And you can get them from my coffee store for free from the link below. Now this page is January, it's already in the store, and as I said, you'll get the liner, a grayscale, soft grayscale, very soft grayscale version of it, and a colour by number version, and the 3 inspirational coloured images and colour palettes to match. So if you decide to colour together with me or colour with me, I would love to see it. So tag me on Instagram so I can have a look. Now, saying that, I have been having troubles with Insta on my phone. You might have noticed I haven't been that active on there for a couple of months because my phone is just a nightmare at the moment for some reason. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. I've updated it, I've done all sorts of things, deleted it, put it back, you know, the whole kabang with it, and for some reason it just keeps playing up. So sometimes I try and answer on the Facebook Meta thing and on the desktop version, and then when I look on my phone my comments aren't there, so I don't know what's going on with it. I do desperately need a new phone. I've dropped mine that many times, it's unbelievable. But anyway, saying all of that, I'll keep checking in on Instagram, and I hope to see some of your lovely colourings. I hope someone actually enjoys colouring mandalas as much as I do. I find them incredibly calming. So when I'm really stressed out and things are just a bit too much for me, I just find colouring a little bit of a mandala, even if it's not the whole thing, I just find it incredibly relaxing. I know David, when he's stressed, you know what he finds relaxing is going into the garden and digging some sort of hole, and then he finds a plant to move there. Mandalas are my version of digging a hole in the garden, I guess, but they are just so incredibly calming. I remember years ago when I had a lot of job stress. I worked a very high stress job in corporate back then, and it was really stressful with long hours. And I found that of a morning, if I just spent like 10 minutes while I was getting ready for work and just sort of coloured a little bit on the kitchen bench, it just sort of set me up better for a better day and relieved a lot of that stress. I think it's something about the symmetry of it that makes it incredibly calming. So I hope you enjoy colouring the mandalas. They've got a floral theme because I love florals, and that's what I wanted to create. And yes, I created them. They're not AI or anything like that. I actually made them myself. So I hope you enjoy colouring them, and I hope you get some sort of calming and peace out of them as well, because I know I certainly do. I find so incredibly relaxing, especially when I'm stressed. So, but I'm okay. I got my mandalas to keep the stress away. So, I think some of you may have seen on Facebook, I posted our suburb in north of Brisbane has been one of the worst hit by the current floods. We are okay. I just want to stress that. Before we bought here, I checked out the flood maps for the area quite thoroughly, and I knew that we weren't in a flood zone. And like sometimes, the stormwater does overflow, but the only time that we've ever got water inside like the structure of the property was the cyclone when we first moved here, and we lost a couple of trees and the water came in just in the garage a little bit, and I was panicking because I was just in the process of putting a bathroom down there, and I had the stud walls up, and I was waiting for the water to hit all this timber that I just had installed, but it stopped a metre or so before that. So that's the worst that we were hit, was a cyclone when we first moved up here. So so far so good. We had our pool overflow, and there's a little bit of water laying around in the garden, but David actually spent a lot of time putting in some really good drains because we're at the bottom of the hill, and so everyone's runoff comes down to our place. So he put some good drains in a couple of years ago and bored me to tears every day with the story of the drains and how they're so good. But they're really good when you get really big downpours like this. But unfortunately, just even a few streets away, a lot of people are flooded out. They've, all the water's come into their homes, and, some people have gone through an absolute nightmare. In the suburb next to us, a whole family had to get out at 2 o'clock in the morning. Their house flooded, and they had to actually swim out and hold on to, like, the street poles, like the stop signs and things like that, until they could be rescued. They actually had to swim for safety. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And the park where Buddy goes every weekend, we take him to this big park just down the road, and it's about 50 acres. It's huge. People play golf frisbee there. It's really massive. It's got a big pond and big stage system as well. They have carols by candlelight there, and all the kids' parties are there because they have this great playground and all this equipment. Anyway, that was totally flooded. The road opposite is 3 metres high in water and being closed off, and the park is about 3 metres high. Last in 2022, when it flooded, it couldn't be reopened because of all the electrical work that they've got there, because they've got the staging for like carols by candlelight and other events that they put on there. That all had to dry out, and it was over 6-7 months before it dried out. So saying that, we are affected by road closures. There's like 70 road closures at the moment in the area, but the main road sort of opposite that park is closed. And I mean, back in 2022, I'd actually gone on that road that day because I was going to buy my new computer that I've got, and went to the suburb to get the computer, and I went outside to have a think about, what's what sort, because they only had one with a small hard drive and I wanted a really big one, but I wanted it now. And so I went outside to see if I could, work out, maybe, get a external drive and I could still get my computer. And I went outside to think about it. It started raining, so I went home. And then that's, of course, when the flood hit, and I couldn't get back to that shop for another 2 weeks to get my computer because the roads were closed. And I guess this is what's going to happen now, because the flooding is really bad. I was going to go down to Officeworks yesterday, which is down in the same sort of area, and get some photocopying done, because I don't actually have a printer. So when I want to print out my mandala, I have to take down my USB drive down to Officeworks, which is a copy store and stationery store for those across the pond, and get it printed out. And it's Officeworks is not flooded, but all the area and the car park and the road and the bridge that you go underneath it, that's all flooded. So it's really, really bad. And our shopping centre down the road, it got flooded out, the car park, in 2022. And for the last, year and, nearly 2 years, half the car park has just been absolutely ruined. Like all the tar or bitumen or whatever has come up from the 2022 floods. And every time you go to the supermarket, you're like, when are they going to fix this? Well, the good news is that last week they started to fix it, and wouldn't you know it, now it's flooded out again. So all their hard work has gone down the drain. But there's so many people affected. I just really hope that everyone can get alternate accommodation and get their properties cleaned out and sorted out soon. We are really lucky, and because we're not affected by the flooding, we're only affected by road closures and things like that. The pool overflowed, but it's no big deal. It just goes into the grass, so it's no big deal. But for some people it's just devastating, absolutely devastating. But that's enough of the Queensland floods. But if it's not boiling hot up here, it seems to be stinking rain or bushfires. It's just never ending. I don't know what's going on in the world. But I hope if you are affected by any sort of natural disaster at the moment, that things work out for you. And I am thinking of you all, and maybe it's time to colour a mandala ring to de-stress. So on a lighter note, when I was taking Buddy for a walk the other day, we walked up to around the corner to the park, and opposite the park there's all this bush, and looked up in the tree, and there it was. If you follow Buddy's Instagram, you would have seen this. I posted a picture of it. There was a gorgeous little koala up a tree, and he was so little, just absolutely cute as a little button. And I thought, I've got to get a picture of this koala. We called the koala rescue people to come and get him, because he was right on a tree near a main road, and we certainly didn't want him to get harmed. And there's only some gum trees that koalas can actually feed from. So I think there's something like 200 different types of gum trees, and koalas can only have like 4 of them or something like that. So it was important to get someone to make sure that he was safe and could be placed into a proper area. So other people stayed around for that, because I had Buddy with me. I took him home. I don't want the koala to get upset when he comes down from the tree and sees a doggy standing there. But they were really great. They came straight away and found him, and called other people to come and help get him. So really good. I called them like last time. It was about a couple of years ago. We actually had a koala stuck in the fence, a little baby koala stuck in the fence at our neighbour's house. And when the guy that discovered her, he's one of Buddy's little doggy friend mates, he went up to the koala rescue house, which was just around the corner from us, and they said, no, there's no koalas here. And it's like, seriously, why would you say that when there's koala crossing signs everywhere. In all the parks it says watch out for the koalas, and the shop's called koala cars and all the rest of it. There's koalas here. And so he didn't believe it, and he came down, and there was the little baby koala with its head stuck in a wire fence. So they spent a lot of time trying to get it out, and they were able to save it and rescue it. But Buddy, was just standing there looking at it going, that's a funny looking cat. And he was really good. But I can't believe since we moved to Brisbane, like how many critters there are here. I guess coming from Sydney, you don't really notice it, but I'm from a farm, so you think I would be a little bit more familiar. But ever since we've been here, we just run into critters all the time. Like when we went to get a barbecue one day, when we were in the car park, there was, 3 or 4 kangaroos just sitting there, just having a good time. And David's driving to work one day in suburban Brisbane, and there's, kangaroo jumping across the road. And you go down to some of the parks in our area, and there's kangaroos grazing. And I used to kill myself laughing when I used to have pen pals, and they used to say, oh, the kangaroos in the streets in Australia. And I used to laugh and say no. And that was when I, lived in the country, and certainly not in Sydney. And, now we're here, and there are kangaroos in the streets and the car parks and whatnot. I think the best one was when we first moved here. We were at North Lakes Shopping Centre, for those of you that might know it, and we were at the IKEA, and I went up to organise our kitchen, and I was there for ages, and we had our little Maltese Terrier that we had back then, Charlie, and David had him, and he was minding him outside. So he went and sort of sat down in this area in the shade, just within the car park. And it was where everyone sort of came down and sort of had their smoke or had their lunch or whatever in the car park. Anyway, he looked to the side, and there, sitting on the steps of this IKEA shopping centre, is a big snake. And so, he went to find the centre management and sort of tell them, and all the security guards came to have a look, and they were all just taking photos and having a look, and they were like, oh, I guess we better call someone to remove it. But I've never seen a snake in a shopping centre before. But yeah, I came and had a look, and I was like, never seen that before. We'll leave that one alone. Because you don't expect to see them in shopping centres, or not in the car park. But we have a few critters of our own. We have, I don't know if I told you guys, but we have a little family of possums that have moved in. And they are as cute as buttons. We've got mum, dad, and their little baby, and they somehow managed to find their way into our garage, which is sort of separated from like a laundry kitchen sort of area downstairs. And yeah, they're really enjoying themselves there. Dad likes to sort of sleep on one side, and they're brush-tail possums, so they've got this big fluffy tail. So he likes to sit up there on his back, paws up in the air, tail hanging down, looking as cute as a little button. And their mum and baby, they like to sleep, sort of like a metre away in the ceiling joists, and they like to cuddle up there together, and they're so cute. Then they come out of a night they used to get up at 5, but they've been sleeping in lately, and they get up about 8:30 now, and they jump from between the 2 floors onto the staircase, and then they, jump onto the side to where there's a tree, and every now and again they get up on the roof and they play like drag racing. They just race across. It sounds like a herd of elephants on the roof. And often I think it's a thunderstorm or something. It's that loud. But they are so tame. Like the other night I was walking up the steps. I had my hand on the balustrade, and just within, 10 centimetres, half a foot, baby possum was just sitting there looking at me, and I got more of a fright than he did. And I've often gone out, and we've got a little elevator for Buddy, and they'll be sitting there on the elevator, and I've gone out and taken photos, and they've basically just posed, and just posed and get their photo taken. Then they come home of a morning and come home about 4 o'clock in the morning. David hears them when he goes and has a shower, and they just spend the rest of the day sleeping. But we do have to get them out, so David made them a possum box, which Queensland has got a little thing on their website how to make a box for them. So he made this like duplex townhouse for them, one side for Daddy and the other side for Mummy and Baby, and he's put it in the garden. But because it's been raining so much, we haven't tried to tempt them out yet over to their possum box, because it's really bad weather, and we've got quite attached to the kids, as we call them. Sometimes you would go downstairs and they're just sitting there looking at you, and it's like, you're so cute, but you can't live here. But it does make me think that some of our colouring books with all the little animals doing human things are probably more realistic than what I'd previously thought. So, and as well as the possums, we've also got a blue-tongued lizard living here. He's living behind our garbage bin, and he's a quiet little fellow. I think we've had about 2 blue tongues. Last time we had one, our kitchen installer actually caught it, and he took it home because he has reptiles. So, but this is a new one. When we first moved here, we had green frogs, and they were absolutely beautiful, but unbelievable amount of noise they made. So I think the first one, David took it down to the river and rehomed it, and then wouldn't you know it, a few days later, it's either back again or it had a friend and said, come here, these people love you, because we had it back again. And the noise from their call or whatever it is just unbelievable. So we had to go and capture that one and take it down the river, rehome it. And it hasn't come back, but we can hear our neighbours 2 doors up, and they've got a green frog, so I don't know whether it's the same one doing the rounds or what it is. I doubt it's the same one, but who knows. And so, and not only that, when we went to the beach on the weekend, we went out to Bribie Island, took Buddy out there, and I couldn't believe it. I have never seen a kangaroo sitting in someone's suburban garden in front of their house. And this kangaroo's just sitting there. I thought it was a statue we were driving past. And it wasn't. It was just sitting there, and it was actually going to the toilet in somebody's front lawn of their house at Bribie Island. And when we went to the park at Bribie Island, there were kangaroos just all over the park. So they obviously go down from the park and then to people's houses. And I guess that's fair enough because there's a national park, within Bribie Island. So I guess they're all just there enjoying themselves. But I can't believe the amount of critters that we've come across since we moved to Queensland. And that's from a girl that, lived in the country, and we had snakes in the house sometimes and, things like that. But I've never seen so many critters around in such close proximity as, since we've moved here. So I don't know what it is about, north of Brisbane, but we're definitely attracting all of the little creatures, so and as well as all the beautiful birds as well. Like every afternoon we get, about 5 o'clock, we get a ton of lorikeets, rainbow lorikeets come in, and we get a ton of cockatoos all come in and just sort of line up, and then someone blows a whistle and then they all go. But there's hundreds and hundreds of them. It's just unbelievable. And sometimes they're really noisy as well. You wouldn't think nature would make such a racket sometimes, but sometimes they really do. So tomorrow, David is going to take the day off work because it's been raining so much. We haven't really got to go out and enjoy ourselves. So tomorrow, David's going to take the day off and we're going to go up to the Sunshine Coast, go out for breakfast, go look on the beach, and basically just have a really nice day out. Have like a Saturday because it's been raining so much lately. And so hopefully that will be really, really nice. And other than that, I really can't think of much more to tell you. But I will put a picture here at the end of the video of how my mandala turned out, and you'll be able to tell from the picture whether I did go back and put some more colour into it or not, because some of it I really should have gone harder with the watercolours. I went pretty lightly because I'm always a pretty light colourer, but I think I could have gone way harder with the Faber-Castell the Faber-Castell watercolours. And actually I think this is the first time that I've used those watercolours. I've used the Prismacolor watercolours before, but not the Faber-Castell, and I've had them for some considerable time. So next time I'll know that I can, put way more colour down and rather than having to go over it. And also I did go out of the lines a fair few times because I was in a bit of a rush, and I didn't sort of calculate that it might bleed out a little bit if I got too close. The paper is actually really good for that, actually, so it doesn't really bleed out, but it was just that one of the colours that I was using was like an ivory cream colour, and so obviously anything darker on that is going to adjust it, so I might need to touch it up a little bit. And as I said, next time I'll probably go in and put more colour down if I want a more vibrant look. So we'll see. We'll see what happens when I've actually finished it and decided whether to touch it up or not. But remember, if you want to colour with me and colour the mandala, it's in my coffee store right now. There's a link below the video as well. You'll see my undated planner and dated planner for this year, my YouTube channel checklist, and keep an eye out on the coffee store. That's where I'll be adding more things as well throughout the year. And I'm putting it all on the coffee store. It's not really the best layout, but it's free and I can upload things, and it doesn't cost me anything to upload and keep it going. So whereas my website does cost me every month to maintain, so I've just got a link to the coffee store on my website. And next month, of course, I'll be adding the February mandala, which will also have liner and grayscale and colour by number, as well as the inspirational pictures as well. So if you are thinking of something that you would like to see in that mandala a month, let me know. And I'll see if I can create it. And if not, I hope you enjoyed this video, and remember to give it a like and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And I will see you soon with my new releases post for February 2024. And there's some great books coming our way. So that's it for me. Until next time, stay safe and happy colouring.